Hello, you're watching Ellie from Elementary Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. I've been making some little gifts for people who give me work throughout the year, and some of these people are gentlemen. So I've made all the ladies' versions, and I thought I'd show you the ones I'm making for the gentlemen, which are, just slightly different designs and colour-wise, etc. So it's just a box for some chocolate bars. And this one is a dark chocolate bar, and I've used several different makes and brands. So I've used Aero, Galaxy, Cadbury's Dairy Milk, and they all measure the same in height, width and depth. So this box will fit all of them as long as it's 100-gram weight. You might find the more expensive bars are really thin and a little bit bigger, so you might have to resize it if you're going to go for that bar. But the one I'm showing you today fits the general 100-gram weight bar. Some of the packaging is slightly different. So this one has a little tab at the top and bottom, so you will have to fold that over, but I don't find that's any great problem. I do find if you tuck it in this way, so that when you tuck your box flap in, it fits really smoothly. But this isn't just a box, it's also a card as well. So if you open it up, you can then personalise your greeting inside. So it saves me making a Christmas card for them and a gift box. It's the same thing. Now I've made here a little extra piece to fit. I normally pop my business card in there because obviously I don't want them to forget who gave them that gift. So I put my business card in there to say thanks very much for giving me work during the year. But if you're making this for friends and family, or just someone else you'd like to thank, you can always pop a gift card in here instead. So that's a really good idea. So for me it's a business card, but for you it could be a gift card. So let me show you how I'm going to make today's one. So I'm going to start off by showing you the cardstock I'm going to use, or designer series paper I mean. And this is an absolutely fabulous design pack. It's called In Good Taste, and I think these are absolutely gorgeous papers. Now, I'm told that this is for the man, but personally I love these too. I love wood effect and stone effect, etc. So I love these, and there are absolutely loads of them. I think there are 10 designs and you get 2 sheets of each. So this is the first side. So these are all like wood or stone effects or like tiling, etc. And then of course they're double-sided. So on the other side we've got some other texture effects. So these are more like sort of fabric effects, or these ones, the blue one there and the sort of pinky red one there is like a kind of plaster, artexy kind of effect, and some sort of tweedy effects here and here, and sort of mosaic tiles. So they are just gorgeous papers and absolutely brilliant to use if you're making something for gentlemen. So let's start then, and I'm going to use my trimmer today. So I'm starting off with a piece of cardstock, and I've chosen soft suede for today's project, and it measures 7 5/8 inches, and it's an A4 length of card, which is somewhere between 11 5/8 and 11 3/4. They do differ slightly. I'm going to start by scoring it, and I'm scoring it in, this is called the portrait orientation. So it's the tallest part uppermost and the width this way. Okay, this is what you call landscape. So we're going to put it into the trimmer in portrait, and I'm going to start by scoring it at 3/8 of an inch. Now when I'm using small measurements like this, I find it easier to use this side of the trimmer. So I'm going to move it along to the 3/8 of an inch mark, and that is just below 1 centimetre. Pushing my cutting blade right out of the way, and I'm scoring up and down at 3/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the same again. 3/8 of an inch, or just below a centimetre. And then I'm going to move it up and do it again at 3/4 of an inch, which is just below 2 centimetres. And I'm going to score it again. So in the landscape orientation, I'm going to turn it around. Now I want to just move my blade, my extension tool out, and I'm going to turn it the other way up so that I can read off the markings much easier if they're nearer to my eyesight. So we're going to score this one at 3.5. So score, not cut. So that's 3.5, and the next one is going to be 3 7/8. And then I'm going to score at 7 3/8, and that's 18.7 centimetres. And then 7 3/4, which is 19.7. And then 11 1/4, and that's 28.6 centimetres. I don't do centimetres, so I'm just reading it off from here. So if I forget to tell you the centimetres, just look at the bar on the inch and look above, and you'll see the centimetre measurement. So that's all the scoring done. Just to remind you, so you know where we're heading, this is the top where you have the 2 score lines, and the bottom is where we have the 1 score line. So you need to bring in your bone folder at this stage, and we're going to fold and burnish all our score lines. So this is the first one. So once you've done that, take your small sharp scissors and just cut up each of these score lines, so you're making yourself some little tabs. And when you get to this side here, you're actually going to cut this one off completely, because this one's going to be the tab to stick it all together. And then at the top, we're going to go up and we're going to cut a little wedge in there, and we're going to cut this one off completely. So let's turn that round and show you what we've done. So that's the 1 single score line at the bottom here. It doesn't look as if I burnished this one. Just make sure I do that now before we go any further. It's easier to do them before you start cutting, because then you've just got one line to go along. So I've cut that one out completely, and I've cut both of those out completely. So now we're going to go and cut down these at the top. Okay. So here we are. I've turned that over. Sorry, let me keep it this way all the time so you don't get lost. So this is the top and this is the bottom. Now our chocolate bar has got to slide in from the top, and we want the box to open like this. So this is where you must check you've got it the right way round, and I have got it the wrong way round. Okay, so I need it to be this way round. Okay, so do check this before you start sticking, cutting anything else. All right, so that's the front of our box with the flat edge here. This is the back where we've got the tab to stick it together. Okay, so I'm just going to go in and fold these all back the other way. It's really hard when you are folding to start with to get the orientation of the box, so always make sure you establish the top and the bottom and the way the box is going to fold before you actually start to assemble it and cut off all the extra bits. So I'm just reversing the burnishing that I did. Okay, so it's all cut correctly, it was just folded in the wrong direction, that's all. Just pop these down now and we're there. So as I say, just when you get so far, bring it all together to make sure you've got it correct. The top is always the bit with the 2 fold lines in. From here, we're going to cut away these 2 pieces at the top, and we're going to leave these pieces. Okay, so I'm going to fold down the bit we want. We want that bit, and we want the tabs. So if I take my long scissors, I'm going to cut away this piece. Don't cut the tab off, you need that. And cut off the next piece. Okay, so we're left with this. The next thing I'm going to do is get rid of the extra bits on the end of these tabs. So I'm just cutting that part off and that part. And then I'm just going to take a little wedge out of those. I'm going to do the same on the bottom, just take off those 2 wedges. Okay, so we're going to check it again, make sure we've got everything where we want it. So that's folding over. That's our front flap of our card. This is where our box is going to close from the front to the back. That's going to stick along there, make our front there. So the last bit we need to remove is the bottom of this front opening flap, the bit that forms the front of our card. So you're just going to cut down the bottom there. So that's the template that we're ending up with. So I'm just going to hold it there a minute if you want to take a screenshot and save that somewhere as a template. So then it just comes to adding the designer series paper that we're using. So again, just fold it over like this so you know where you are. And I would mark the front so that I know that's where I'm going to stick my designer series paper. It's easier to do it while it's flat like this. I've chosen to use this lovely piece of, I think it looks like laminate flooring. and that is a 1/4 inch smaller than this piece. So this measures 6.5 by 3.5. So my paper's 3 1/4 by 6 3/4. So I'm going to use my Tombow multi-purpose glue, and I've popped it into the fine tip applicator, just putting some all over. And by using this glue, you'll find that when you pop it down, you've got a little time to just slide it into position so that you get the border all the way around. Incidentally, I'm not sure whether I mentioned earlier, I'm using soft suede cardstock today, because I thought that would go quite nicely for the masculine theme. So the next thing we can do is actually stick our box together. So this tab here is going to be stuck into that part there, and it's quite simple because it's symmetrical. You can fold it flat to do so. Now you might find that this tab is a very slightly wider or the same width as that. So what I tend to do is take my long scissors again and cut off just a thin slither of this, just to make sure that it does fit nicely into that area, because if it's a fraction too wide, you'll find it doesn't sit nicely. So we're just going to stick it like that so that it comes up flat and opens. Okay, so fold the flap under. Let's give that a really good burnish. Fold it over like so. Make sure that this folds in, and then you'll know it's fine. Take your glue again. Now you want enough glue on there to stick it, but don't be over generous because it's not a large area there, and you don't want it squirting out over your cardstock. Okay, so I just like to use my bone folder here, and that evens out the glue, puts a little bit of pressure on it so that we know it's sticking down. And then again, I'm going to just turn that over to make sure it does fold in nicely. Okay, now I wouldn't actually start to open the card and put any pressure on that or put the chocolate in or anything just at the moment. So I'm just going to leave it a minute to set up and take that minute to cut another piece of the paper that I'm using to fit inside our box. So it's going to be the same size again. It's going to be 6 1/4 by 3 1/4. So just to show you how I cut that, use my trimmer along to 3 1/4, and then 6 1/4. That's my 3 1/4 mark, 6 1/4 mark there. And I'm also going to cut a piece of very vanilla cardstock to the same measurement. So that's 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I just like to run my bone folder just down over my cut lines to make sure I just lay down the paper. When you cut with a trimmer, you're pushing the card or the paper into the track, and you get this little notch on the side. If you just go over it with your bone folder, that completely disappears. Right, so this should be dry now. Right, I didn't leave that for long enough. Right, let me just pop that bit more on there. think I bent it back before it had dried, but while it's flat, it's actually a good time to pop on this piece of paper, which is going to go on the inside of our card flat. Let me show you on the finished one. So I've got the designer series paper there and the plain piece there. So let's pop that into place while this is drying. And then we'll pop this one over on the other side. So we've got a plain piece to write on. The piece for my gift card or business card, whatever you're using, I'll just measure this over here. I think it's 4 by 2 3/4. And what I did to cut these lines is I measured in 3/4 of an inch along here and made a little mark, and the same here on all the corners. And I just took a craft knife and just cut across at an angle, so that you will have to sort of play about with the gift card that you've got to make sure it fits okay. So let's just pop this. I put some thin, very narrow double-sided tape on the back of this. And I'm just going to take the corners of the backing tape off to place it inside. And I actually find it easier to pop the card in before you actually stick this down. Okay, now I'm just gonna, I always find this a little bit difficult to do, which is why I do it before you put it on the card. But if you bend the card around, you will be able to get that gift card in. And then I'm going to pop that in there. Pull off my tabs, and that will be stuck nicely. And then I'm going to stamp this with a little sentiment in the side, in the top here. Actually, I'm going to put a different one in there. So from Poinsettia Petals, which is one of my favourite stamp sets, I'm using May Magic and Wonder Bloom This Holiday. I'm using soft suede to match the cardstock. And just stamping that at the top there. And then we're just going to glue the bottom of the box into place now. And that is, let's just bring this up so that it all meets. Now I like to fold the back in first here and then glue my little tabs down like so. You might find it's easier if you pop the chocolate in so that you've got something to press against. So if I slide the chocolate bar into the top there, then I can feel it at the bottom and I can use that to press against, to pop my, to put some pressure on there. So if I add glue to the top part now, just pop that down, and then if I stand it up, the pressure of the chocolate bar will help to stick it. And then to get the top to fit nicely in, if you take your scissors and just don't cut too much off here, just a tiny little bit, literally like that. If you cut too much off, you might find that it pops out. It's one of those things you can always cut a little bit more off, but you can't stick it back on once it's off. I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the corner there. I wasn't very careful where I added my glue earlier. And then you'll find that that will tuck in and it won't pop out. I'm going to cut a tiny bit more off that one. It's just a little bit proud. Like I said, you can always cut a little bit more off, but you can't add it on. So as that tucks in, it will stay there now. It won't pop out. My card, well, that did pop out because I tried to fold my card the wrong way round. And I spoiled that in the process. So that's the box there put together. And it opens up like that. And I'm just going to cut out a piece of cardstock for a greeting for the front. So I've got some very vanilla cardstock again, and this beautiful punch, which is from the Elegantly Said bundle. I love this sort of tag. So I'm just going to pop the cardstock in the back. And the good thing about these punches is you can use them upside down so you can see exactly what you're cutting out. Okay, so you've got your tag there. And I'm going to use the soft suede again with my other little greeting, my other little sentiment, which says cheers from our home to yours. So I'm just going to pop that right in the middle, and I'm not pressing hard. I'm simply holding it there for a few seconds for the ink to transfer to the cardstock. And then just come straight up so you make sure you don't smudge it in any way. And I'm just simply going to glue this on the front there. If you wanted to, you could add a bit of ribbon on it and punch a hole in it, etc. But as this is for a gentleman, I don't think ribbon is necessary. I think they prefer things quite plain, don't they, and to the point. To be honest, it's a man. All he's going to really be interested in is the chocolate inside. So that's my little chocolate gift box, which can incorporate a gift card, and that's an alternative colourway there. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel and follow my Facebook page. I will, as usual, put some links in my description box below as to my online store, and if you would like to shop with me, just click on the link. It'll take you straight to my shop, and it might ask you for a host code, and I will put the current month's host code in the description box below. If you're watching on YouTube, on Facebook you'll see both the shop with me button at the top of the page along with this month's host code. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.